All 132 NASCAR haulers have made it to Mexico City safely. Some teams, though, they're still trying to get down there. We'll get to that in just a second. Here, what happened to the drivers of 2311 Racing, Front Row Motorsports, if the teams do, in fact, lose their charters? Plus, we'll talk about ratings from this past weekend at Michigan. Welcome back to Break Hard. I'm Matt. Today's video brought to you by Driven Sunglasses. Head over to drivensunglasses.com. Use code BREAKHARD at checkout for 20% off plus free shipping. Now, before we get into the travel around Mexico City, we need to talk about something that's happening in Mexico City, and that is tire packs in the S's. You remember back to COTA earlier this year when the drivers and the teams got there, NASCAR and ISC, or SMI rather, had placed tire packs in the S's to deter drivers from trying to cut the course. They went ahead and took those out because it wasn't going to work, and it was going to be a very bad crash if they did in fact hit them. But the thought was there. I think we all understand the thought, just the execution of it, not the best plan that they had ever laid out. Now in Mexico, when the media members did their sightseeing tour of the track, hey, there's tire packs in the S's here to deter drivers from trying to cut the course. Now, unlike COTA, the S's are not all the way paved like a gigantic parking lot. There is, in fact, grass right there, which should deter drivers from doing it, but you know they're absolutely going to take every inch they can, and they're going to put those right side tires off going through there, or the left side tires, or they might just put all four tires off as well, because they're going to take as much as they can until NASCAR penalizes them for it. Putting a tire pack there, that's going to deter them from trying to do that. And hey, are we going to see somebody hit it like they're Bubba Wallace or Eric Jones at the Roval the first time? Maybe. Or Noah Gragson going to get attracted to the tires again and just smash into them like it was Chicago? Probably not. I think we're going to be safe here. People on the internet were like, John Harnewicz absolutely going to hit those. Hey, maybe, but I don't think that he's going to. But I think it's probably a good thing to have them there. Let's keep everybody on the track. Speaking of the track, all 132 NASCAR haulers made it to the track safely this week. You heard me right, 132 haulers headed down to Mexico City. 37 for the Cup Series, 33 for the Xfinity Series, 27 for Champion, 10 for Goodyear, 9 for NASCAR, 9 for the broadcast, 3 for Sunoco, 3 for Steps Towing, and 1 for Featherlight. All 132 of them made their way down there. They convoyed down like they were C.W. McCall, and for the most part, it seems like it went pretty well. Now, I have heard a couple of truck drivers say that it was a bit of a mess getting down there. It wasn't as smooth as what was portrayed on the internet. Others have said, we went down. It was kind of slow moving, but still made it. Regardless, everybody made it there safely. They did have an armored escort as well. Always like to see some federales in the back, fully armored up with automatic weapons to deter any, naysayers or negative Nancy's that would like to rain on the parade of haulers getting down there. I saw a bunch of people on the internet being like, why is it news that the haulers even made it? Formula One does this every single year. Well, Formula One air freights everything in, and the airport's about a mile from the racetrack, so it's a really short shot. They just drove 700 plus miles through Mexico to get down here, and it's been not something the Cup drivers have never done, or Cup teams have never done before. Obviously, Xfinity came down here back in 2008, 2005, 6, 7, 8, for this event. But nonetheless, everybody made it there safely. Now, when it comes to the teams, NASCAR chartered flights to take everybody down to Mexico City, and a number of them left on Thursday, except for 2 of them, apparently. One of them, thanks to Ryan Ellis for kind of live tweeting the entire situation that happened here, one of the planes was on takeoff. It was on the runway, throttling up, going, and they had a complete engine failure. Engine number 2 blew, according to Matt Weaver's tweet there, whether it was a bird strike or something else. The engine blew. Pilot aborted takeoff. Definitely the right move there, considering everything else that happened on Thursday in the aviation world. Right call. Aborted takeoff and went back to the terminal. Ryan Ellis kind of following along, Mexico bound, heard a loud bang, going back to the gate, and then he posted a picture of the fire truck there and then getting off of the airplane on the tarmac and everything like that. Not an ideal situation. There was apparently also another situation with another plane, and NASCAR is trying to find a solution and a way to get everybody down there. According to Weaver, there's about 100 people that are still stuck in Charlotte, sent back home, sent back to their race shops, as NASCAR tries to figure out a solution to get everybody down there. There is, of course, a full day of practice on Friday, but they've got a couple hours and time change to work with, and they still have some time to get everybody down there. They absolutely will, but not obviously the best travel day. Thankfully, though, we didn't have a NASCAR media member, somebody on potentially NASCAR radio, tweet out something really stupid and kind of keep everybody on their heels, especially on a day where we did in fact have a plane crash. We had a plane with NASCAR aboard a takeoff. Yeah, it's always good to make a joke about something bad happening at an airport, to which some people on the internet absolutely understood, where I was like, that's a wild thing to tweet in an airport. Other people are like, did I miss this whole thing happening? Blah, blah, blah. Listen, buddy, we're not playing the semantics game here. Everybody knows what he's talking about. It's one of those things you just don't talk about in an airport. You don't watch 9/11 highlights in an airport. You don't talk about bad things happening when you're in an airport. Just one of those things I think we all should universally agree on, or have agreed on, unless, of course, you are, Moving on to the other topic of the day, what happens to the drivers of 23XI Racing and Front Row Motorsports if those teams do in fact lose their charter? So as we talked about, 2025 silly season right now, it's pretty quiet. We got the Trackhouse situation, and that's kind of it. Unless, of course, 23XI Racing, Front Row Motorsport do in fact lose their charters, because that likely voids the contracts of their drivers, which would make them free agents. And for Tyler Reddick, that's going to make him a very sought-after man, and he is a driver that teams would absolutely find a way to land, even if it means, hey, we're going to pay this driver to go away for a year or whatever is left on his deal here, like he's Corey LaJoie. So, yeah, what does happen? If you remember back when NASCAR basically said, hey, we're taking your charters away, you're going to have to race as open teams because you did not sign the charter agreement. The whole reason the teams went to get the injunction was because of sponsorship agreements and driver agreements that they had. Tyler Reddick, Bubba Wallace, even Corey Heim, who does have a 23XI Racing contract, all went to the team and they were like, hey, you have to give us some clarity on this, because in our contracts it says that we will drive chartered cars, guaranteed starting spots. Obviously, I'm sure they probably have financials that are tied to that charter deal as well. And the teams didn't have charters at that point. So they went to the judge and, asked for the injunction. The judge gave them that injunction. Well, a couple weeks ago, that appeals court, the Fourth Circuit of Appeals, overturned that injunction, which means that NASCAR can pull those charters away from the teams. The teams, of course, have 2 weeks to appeal that ruling, which would then give the judge like a week to make another ruling on it. So NASCAR is probably not going to do anything for at least like another 2 weeks here. But say they do pull those charters back. Does that make these drivers free agents now? Now, Bubba Wallace signed a multi-year deal at the end of 2024. Tyler Reddick, we know has a multi-year deal. Not really sure when that's going to run out here. Riley Herbst, not entirely sure about his deal. I think more of that is tied to the sponsor and everything else that goes on with that. And then you have Corey Heim, probably the most sought-after prospect in NASCAR right now. All of them could potentially become free agents. Then you throw in the Front Row Motorsport guys of Noah Gragson, Todd Gilliland, and Zane Smith. Not lacking of talent over there either. Definitely drivers that teams would like to be able to build around. And say they do, in fact, lose those charters. They become free agents. That's when things get a little bit crazy, because you now have 6 drivers out there that are going to be looking for cup rides. There aren't 6 cup rides out there. And I think out of all those drivers, Tyler Reddick's really the only one. If I was, a team president, I would look at and be like, should we pay one of our guys to not race for a year, essentially? Corey LaJoie in the Cup Series. Corey LaJoie is being paid by Spire this year on his Cup contract to not race in the Cup Series so that Justin Haley can race that car. And maybe that's something we see happen here. If, somebody wants to make a move and be like, hey, we're going to sign Tyler Reddick and we're going to pay you to go away. We'll pay you to race for somewhere else. It doesn't matter. You're just not going to race here. I think Tyler Reddick is a talented enough guy to do that. He is a Final Four driver, a driver that at least has a Final Four appearance. He's a regular season champion, multi-time race winner. He is a driver that teams can absolutely build around and a major asset to those teams. Bubba Wallace, another driver, pretty consistent, really consistent this year, is a race winner, attracts a lot of sponsorship. He's a guy that other teams could look at as well to potentially, land him over there. Riley Herbst, Corey Heim, another driver that teams would absolutely jump at to sign him up. Maybe not for a Cup ride in 26, maybe for an Xfinity Series ride, but nonetheless, there are a lot of teams out there that would like to get their hands on Corey Heim, but right now he has a deal with 23XI Racing. So it all comes down to whether or not these teams are going to appeal and what NASCAR does after that. There's also been some chatter about NASCAR potentially wanting those teams to pay back the charter earnings that they've earned this year. Since that injunction was thrown out, they shouldn't have earned that. That's where things might get a little bit sticky at as well. And hey, it might piss some fans off too in the process. I'm not really sure how the fan base is going to react if NASCAR does in fact ask for that back. Nevertheless, things could get very interesting if they do, in fact, pull those charters. All right, let's talk about ratings because everybody's obsessed with ratings. Oh, they're going over to Prime. NASCAR is going to die over on Prime. This past weekend's race at Michigan got 1.77 million viewers, a pretty solid number overall, down 20%. And everybody's going to be like, that's terrible. See, you're abandoning your fan base. You're down 20%. NASCAR is going to die. I haven't watched NASCAR since Dale died in 2001, but I still know everything that's happening, but I'm definitely not watching. Those type of people, the Facebook commenters, the people on TikTok, does not matter. Everybody's going to say that NASCAR is dying. Here's the thing. 1.77 million viewers, not bad at all. NASCAR's first 3 races on Prime basically follows the trajectory of what the NFL experienced in their first season on Prime as well. You saw a drop about 20% or so compared to their cable numbers, but then it started to rise up. Here's why it's working for NASCAR. Yeah, and everybody's going to latch on to that 20% and think that's the negative. No. This is actually working out pretty well for NASCAR because Sports Media Watch put together in the 18 to 34-year-old demo, NASCAR's up 32% in their 3 races so far on Prime. In the 18 to 49-year-old demo, up 11%. In the 25 to 54-year-old demo, up 21%. In the 55-plus demo, down 40%. That's because the olds just refuse to absolutely do anything with the internet, with streaming, with anything like that. And honestly, we can't hold their hands any longer. If they can't figure it out, that's on them. I'm not trying to cater to them any longer. They've been catered to long enough. They want to sit there and tell us, oh, well, I'm not paying any more for streaming. Okay, well, don't pay for streaming then. I don't really care. And then they'll turn around and be like, well, yeah, you pay for streaming. That's why you don't have a house. Listen, I've got a house, multiple cars, all the things, and I think I'm doing okay. I can afford $15 a month. And in fact, they tried to give it to you for free and you were still like, no, not taking something for free. No such thing as a free lunch. It's exhausting. It really is. But for NASCAR, this is actually working out pretty well. Plus 32% in that demo is a really good thing. That is what NASCAR's whole purpose of going to streaming was trying to do. They know that there, of course, is the older generation that will watch on cable. We get that. But there's a number of cord cutters, people that don't have cable out there, but they have Prime. You put it on Prime, you get a younger audience. And now they're sitting back probably wondering, oh man, I wonder if we could do a full season on Prime, but also try to do it on cable as well. Can we simulcast with it? Because they would absolutely be able to do that. I kind of wish that Prime did in fact have a full season available or the option to do the full season, but then, you know, NASCAR kind of just broadcasts that onto cable on the networks over there, kind of like what we see with Sky Sports and ESPN and stuff like that. I think that there might be a marriage that could happen there. Super convoluted, super intricate, and I just don't know if the headache is worth it to try to figure all of this out. But I think in the future, that could maybe be something that they do explore, because having that streaming option available, as we've seen through the first 3 races, has really attracted a younger audience. The younger people do, in fact, want to watch. You just have to put it on places where they're watching things at. Cable's not that place, unfortunately. Yeah, I've got YouTube TV. I know a bunch of other people have YouTube TV. But at the same time, that's what, like $80 a month? That's a big ask for some people. $15 a month on Prime, not that big of an ask because you get a ton of other content. Not that you don't get a ton of content on YouTube TV as well, but let's be honest. If racing wasn't on cable, wasn't on USA or FS1, I probably wouldn't have YouTube TV. Just wouldn't. It's great service. They just keep jacking the price up, and I'm not seeing any improvements over there. Meanwhile, Prime showing everything in 4K. The pre-race show is great. The post-race show is great. The booth is great. The graphics is great. All the camera work is really good. I don't mind paying for that whatsoever. So the Prime experiment is working. I'm bummed we only have 2 races left with it, but at the same time, maybe we're going to get more into the future. I think it's worth noting that Warner Brothers Discovery just spun off their networks and kind of split things up a little bit. I'm not sure what that's going to do for driver cams or for qualifying and things like that. But yeah, that's going to certainly be something to look at for 2026. But as of now, I think that we should be fine. With qualifying moving over to True TV at the end of this Prime run and the broadcast going over to TNT and stuff like that. But for now, yeah, I think this is working out okay for NASCAR. It's not all doom and gloom like some people want it to be on the internet. Like and subscribe to the channel. Follow me on TikTok @BreakHard, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook @BreakHardBlog.